Let's begin. I always believed my life was bulletproof. Perfect wife, well-behaved kids, a suburban home with a fenced-in backyard, 2 cars in the driveway, and a loyal best friend who'd been with me since college. I was that guy, the one who had it all and never questioned a thing. But let me tell you something about comfort. It numbs you. It dulls your instincts until you can't tell a real smile from a rehearsed one. And when the truth finally crashes through the door, it doesn't knock. It kicks your soul wide open. My name is Marcus Rayner. I was a senior architectural designer for a mid-sized firm in Dallas, Texas. My wife, Serena, an English teacher, kind, well-read, soft-spoken but witty when she wanted to be. We had 2 kids, Drew and Lila, and we lived in a quiet cul-de-sac where everyone waved. Barbecues were a weekend ritual, and nobody locked their front doors. And then there was Adrian Holt, my best friend since sophomore year at the University of Houston. Charismatic, confident, slicker than oil and water. We were each other's best man. His wife, Bianca, was an enigma, elegant, sharp, stunning in that Italian villainous kind of way. The kind of woman who didn't smile often, but when she did, it could cut glass. I didn't see the signs at first. Maybe I didn't want to. One Tuesday night, I came home early from a canceled client meeting. I walked in expecting Serena to be on the couch with her wine glass, grading papers while The Bachelor played in the background. Instead, the house was dim, unusually quiet. I found her in the kitchen, whispering into her phone, her back to me. Her shoulders stiffened when I said, "Hey, babe." She whirled around like I caught her stealing. "Everything okay?" I asked. She fumbled the phone behind her back and gave a tight-lipped smile. "Oh, just a coworker thing. One of my students had an emergency." Plausible. She was always the mother hen. Always helpful. Always available. But her eyes, those calm, intelligent eyes, flashed something else. Guilt. Still, I brushed it off. We all have bad days. Maybe it was stress. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the tension in her voice, seeing the way her hand trembled when she thought I wasn't watching. 2 days later, while digging through the laundry basket looking for my hoodie, I found it, stuffed in the pocket of her jeans like a careless secret. A condom wrapper. We hadn't used protection since before Lila was born. Serena was on birth control. We'd agreed years ago. No rubbers. Ever. I froze. Heart thrashing, breath shallow, mouth dry. There's no innocent explanation for that. I shoved it back where I found it and locked myself in the guest bathroom. The mirror stared back like it was mocking me. I was a man unraveling. Every look, every laugh, every lingering text message she sent in the middle of the night started replaying in my head. I wasn't about to explode yet. I needed answers. Proof. That's when the devil walked through my front door in 6-inch heels and blood-red lipstick. Bianca Holt. She didn't knock. Just rang the bell and waited with that icy smirk I'd only seen when someone crossed her. I opened the door, stunned. Bianca. She marched past me into the living room, eyes scanning the space like she owned it. "Sit," she said, snapping her fingers toward the couch. My brain was still buffering. You okay?" "No," she said flatly, dropping a manila envelope on the coffee table. "But you won't be either." Inside were photos. Photos of Serena and Adrian. Entering a motel. Leaving a motel. Smiling like teenagers who thought they were invisible. Time-stamped. Dated. Multiple angles. I couldn't speak. Couldn't even blink. "I hired a PI," she continued, crossing her legs with elegance and fury. "Cost me 20 grand for my trust fund. Money well spent." I sat frozen. "My husband and your wife," she said, biting out each word like it burned her tongue, screwing behind her backs. For months, I felt the world tilt, like someone had yanked the floor from under me and replaced it with a black hole. My stomach coiled into knots. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, my voice cracking like glass under pressure. "Because," she said, standing up and walking toward the window, "they're leaving again this weekend. Together. Another work conference." She turned back to me, eyes like daggers. "And I have a plan." "What kind of plan?" She smiled. Not warmly. Not kindly. The kind of smile that wolves give just before they pounce. A plan to end them. I swallowed hard. Bianca took a deep breath and came closer. Her perfume hit me like a tidal wave, spiced jasmine with a hint of something metallic. They think they're so clever. But revenge. She leaned in until her breath was on my cheek. Revenge is about precision. Pain that lingers. Ewan, I should have said no. I should have thrown her out, burned the photos, and confronted Serena directly. But something dark had already awakened inside me. I need not just to know, but to hurt the people who made me feel this broken. I nodded. Bianca's grin widened like she had just recruited me into her personal war. And just like that, the war began. We met again 2 nights later, Bianca and I, at a corner booth in an old jazz bar where no one knew our faces, and the lights were too dim to cast clear shadows. It was the kind of place where secrets felt safer than truths. Bianca wore a backless black dress and a look of cold fire. I came in with a face that felt a decade older and a silence I didn't know how to fill. When she placed her phone face down on the table and leaned across the candlelight, her voice dropped to a level that forced me to lean in. "We don't just confront them," she said, stirring her drink. "We destroy them." "How?" I asked, still reeling from the last 48 hours. "Because right now, I don't even know how to look Serena in the eye without." "Then don't," she cut in. "You gather more evidence. You fake forgiveness. You give her comfort while she digs her own grave." There was something frightening about the way she said it. Calculated. Detached. But I was already too far gone to stop listening. "Do you know how long it's been?" she whispered. "Since I felt desired? Since Adrian touched me like I mattered? He treats me like a trophy he's already won. A relic on a dusty shelf." I said nothing. What could I say? She looked up, eyes hard. "I'm not a relic, Marcus. I'm still fire underneath." I shifted in my seat, unsure of where this was going, until she leaned closer. "We make them feel it," she said. "What it's like to be betrayed, to be disposable. We show them we're not weak." "You mean," I hesitated, "you and me?" She smiled slowly, eyes gleaming. "I mean," she said, running a finger along the rim of her glass, "we mirror their betrayal, on our terms, and we hide it so well that it makes them question everything. We take back control." I stared at her for a long moment. My heart thudded in conflict. She saw my hesitation and let out a soft laugh. "Don't look at me like that, Marcus. You think you're still the good guy? You've already agreed to this war. And in war, there are no innocents." She reached across the table and took my hand. "One night," she said. "Just one night. Let's burn something of theirs." And I let her. We didn't go back to the bar. She led me to a hotel 5 blocks away, room already reserved under a fake name. The moment the door closed, she dropped her coat, revealing lingerie so delicate it looked criminal. But there was no romance in what followed. No softness. No sweet nothings. It was a collision of 2 broken people punishing shadows in each other's bodies. I wish I could say I stopped halfway, that I realized it was wrong and backed out. But I didn't. I went through with it. All of it. And when I woke up next to her in tangled sheets and unforgivable decisions, all I could think was, Serena and Adrian deserve to feel this rot. Bianca, however, had other plans. "We make this regular," she said, slipping into her dress like nothing happened. "They think they're the only ones who can sneak around. Let's see how they like suspicion. But we're doing the same thing," I muttered, sitting on the edge of the bed, half-dressed and full of regret. "No," she said firmly. "They cheated for thrill, for ego. We're doing this to even the playing field. That makes it better." "No," she said, pausing in the doorway. "It just makes it fair." From that night on, things blurred. I played my part. At home, I was supportive, calm. I even brought Serena breakfast in bed. She looked at me strangely at first, like she didn't know what to make of my warmth. But behind her eyes, I saw it guilt. It hung there like a fog she couldn't shake. I kept tabs, late meetings, weekend seminars, a girls' trip that conveniently aligned with Adrian's business travel. And all the while, Bianca and I met in secret. Sometimes at her place, sometimes in my car. Once, even in the janitor's closet at a fundraiser gala. It wasn't just about sex. It was about control. It was about feeding the beast inside us that needed to feel like we still mattered. But it didn't take long before the lines began to blur. We started talking between the fury, sharing war stories, laughing at things that weren't funny. She told me Adrian used to bring her breakfast in bed every Sunday, until he stopped. Told me he once cried when she miscarried their first child, only to emotionally abandon her 2 months later. I told her Serena used to write me poems, hide notes in my jacket pocket before meetings, until one day, She just stopped writing. Bianca looked at me with something close to pity. They stopped loving us long before we stopped trusting them. Then came the night. I tapped Serena's phone. Bianca had a tech friend. Gave me a voice-activated recorder I hid under the dresser. Said it would pick up everything within 10 feet. That night, I sat in the garage and listened to Serena call Adrian. She whispered his name like it was a prayer. Told him she missed him, that she hated lying to me, but couldn't give him up. She promised she'd sneak away again next Tuesday. The Waverly Inn, room 408. I hit pause. My hands were shaking, but my mind was stone cold. That was the moment I realized the truth wasn't enough anymore. I needed to show her what betrayal really looked like. I needed her to feel what I felt. So I called Bianca. We're going to the Waverly Inn next Tuesday, I said, and we're getting the room right across from theirs. She didn't ask why. She just said, finally. Tuesday couldn't come fast enough. Every hour between the moment I hit stop on the recording and the time Bianca and I walked into the Waverly and felt like I was dragging a corpse behind me. Bianca had been oddly quiet in the days leading up. She texted less, spoke in clipped sentences. She had a manic energy bubbling beneath her skin, like she wasn't just waiting to confront Adrian and Serena. She was itching to scorch the entire ground beneath them. We checked in her room, 409, directly across the hall from 408. Bianca wore a red silk blouse with heels that echoed down the hallway like war drums. Her lips were a shade of rage. I'd never seen her wear that color before. When the front desk clerk handed us the key card, she smiled like we were just another affair couple trying to escape their lives for a night of forbidden pleasure. If only she knew. We entered the room and shut the curtains tight. Sat in silence. Both of us too wound up to speak. Bianca stared at the door, hands folded in her lap, but her leg was bouncing. The kind of movement that comes from a mind spiraling. They'll be here in 15, she said, not looking at me. How do you know? Adrian's always punctual, especially when it's about sex. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words tangled in my throat. So instead, I just sat there, staring at the door, every second stretching out like a blade. At 7:12 p.m., the unmistakable click of room 408's door broke the silence. Bianca stood up. Her hands were trembling, but her jaw was set. I followed her across the hall. She didn't knock. She used the key card she'd swiped from Adrian's coat pocket the night before. The lock blinked green. Bianca shoved the door open and stormed in. What happened next could only be described as a collision of worlds. Serena was halfway in her bra. Adrian was shirtless, frozen in the middle of tugging the covers over himself. The look on Serena's face when she saw me wasn't fear. It was guilt. Raw, naked guilt. Like her soul just got caught on a meat hook. Adrian jumped up. What the hell? Bianca didn't wait. She walked straight up to him and slapped him so hard it echoed off the walls. Serena scrambled to cover herself. Marcus, wait, I can explain. I didn't say a word. I just stood in the doorway, watching them, letting the silence crush them. Oh, please, Bianca hissed. You gonna say it's not what it looks like? Maybe it's a massage seminar. Bianca. Adrian started, his voice shaky. This isn't the way. No, she snapped. The way would have been not cheating on me for the last year with your best friend's wife. I turned to Serena, her hands trembling as she fumbled to speak. Marcus, I was going to tell you. I knew it last week. I just came to say goodbye to him. Oh, shut up, Bianca spat. You're still undressed. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, visibly sweating now. Listen, man, I didn't mean for this to happen. You meant, I said finally, my voice low and cutting, to lie. Every day, every barbecue, every time you high-five me or hug my kids. You meant to betray me while pretending to be my brother. Serena sobbed. I didn't want to hurt you. But you did, I said. Every time you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me. She broke then, collapsed on the floor like her legs gave out. Bianca looked down at her with disgust. You're crying, she scoffed. Save it. I lost something too. You think you were the only one bleeding in this. Adrian narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Bianca stepped forward, her voice shaking but strong. I was pregnant. Dead silence. I didn't even know until a few days ago, she continued. But it was Marcus's, not yours. Serena's head snapped up. Adrian's mouth dropped open. You're kidding. I'm not, she said, staring daggers. And I lost it. Thanks to your paranoia and your fists. Adrian's face drained of color. I never touched you. You slapped me when I refused to sleep with you last week. Bianca hissed. You shoved me when I tried to leave the argument. I fell. That's all it took. Serena looked like she was going to vomit. I should have stopped it. Should have defused things. But I was too far gone. That's right, I added. Bianca and I, we've been sleeping together too. Serena covered her mouth. Adrian backed up like I'd punched him. You think you had a monopoly on betrayal? I asked. You think we were going to sit there and watch while you turn our lives into back-alley motel stories? Serena's voice was a whisper. I loved you. No, I said. You love the secrecy. You love the power. But me? You threw me away the second Adrian offered you attention. Bianca stepped between us. We're done here. But you're going to remember this night every time you crawl on a bed alone. Adrian's voice cracked. This wasn't revenge. This was just hate. Bianca smiled coldly. Exactly. Then she pulled out her phone. Hit play. The recording from Serena's call with Adrian filled the room. Every sigh, every flirtatious whisper, every plan. Adrian lunged, but I stepped in his path. One more step, and I swear to God I'll break your nose. Bianca slipped the phone back into her purse. This is backup. For court. What court? Serena whispered. The one I take your ass to. Bianca snapped. When I divorce Adrian for assault, emotional distress, and adultery. With receipts. Serena collapsed again. Adrian stared at me, hollow. Bianca turned to leave, brushing past me without a word. I followed her. Before I closed the door behind me, I looked back at Serena. She was curled on the floor, sobbing. I didn't feel triumph. I felt empty. But sometimes revenge doesn't fill you. It just carves out space for something darker. Bianca and I didn't speak on the way back. Not in the elevator. Not in the car. Not even when we pulled into her driveway and sat in the stillness of the night with only the ticking of the engine between us. She finally broke the silence. We won, but it doesn't feel like it. I looked out the windshield. Because no one really wins. I thought hurting them would fix something inside me, she whispered. But all it did was let me see how broken I already was. She turned to me. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. With the recordings, the PI photos, the financial records. I'll bury him. And Serena, she's your storm to walk through. I dropped her off and drove home, my hands glued to the wheel like I was holding back a scream. When I got inside, Serena was waiting in the dark. Her eyes were red, her face hollow. I deserved everything tonight, she said, her voice shredded. But Marcus, I never stopped loving you. I lost myself. You threw me away, I said, unbuttoning my coat slowly. And you dragged my best friend into it. Or maybe it was the other way around. She shook her head. It wasn't about him. It was about feeling alive, being wanted, after years of just being a mom, a teacher, a wife. I forgot what it felt like to matter. You mattered to me, I said quietly, but I didn't matter to you. She sobbed. I messed up, but I'm pregnant, Marcus. I know. She paused. You do. I heard you say it. I just don't believe it's mine. I don't know whose it is, she admitted, but I want to make things right. You can't. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she said, stepping closer. But I want to be honest. I made an appointment for a paternity test. I'll pay for it. I'll handle everything if it's not yours. I swear. Why now? Because I realized I destroyed the only man who ever really saw me. I didn't answer. I just went upstairs and locked the door. 2 weeks passed. Bianca filed. Adrian tried to retaliate, but had nothing. The court had texts, photos, recordings. Her lawyer was ruthless. He walked out of their marriage with a duffel bag and half his dignity. He moved into a hotel near the city. I heard through a mutual friend that he got fired shortly after. Something about embezzling corporate funds. Karma didn't knock. It kicked the door down. Serena lived in the guest room. We barely spoke. We were two strangers orbiting around a wreckage we once called home. Then came the paternity results. She left them on the kitchen counter with a yellow sticky note. It's yours. But I understand if that changes nothing. I stared at the papers for 10 straight minutes. It was mine. But no, it didn't change anything. That same day, I met Bianca for coffee. We sat on a park bench, under a gray sky that felt like it was holding back tears. You okay? I asked. She nodded. No, but I'm better than I was. And the case. Adrian's reputation is gone. His bank accounts are bleeding. He has to pay me alimony, and the judge ruled against him getting custody of the house. And your child?" Her eyes went soft. "I think about what could have been, but I also think it was never meant to grow up in that world. It would have been poisoned by our bitterness." I swallowed hard. "Bianca, I don't know what we were, or what we are now. We were painkillers," she said gently. "But we were also mirrors. We showed each other the truth." We sat in silence. Then she leaned over, kissed my cheek, and said, "Take care of that kid. And yourself." She walked away, and that was the last time I saw her. 6 months passed. Serena gave birth to a boy. He had her eyes and my jawline. We named him Caleb. We didn't get back together. She moved out, found an apartment nearby. I had the kids on weekends. We were civil, for the sake of them. She apologized often, too often, but I stopped asking her to stop, because some ghosts never leave. They just sit beside you at dinner, or in the rearview mirror, or in the smell of someone's perfume that reminds you of what almost destroyed you. Adrian disappeared, moved to Phoenix. No one hears from him anymore. Last I knew, he was working at a rental car place and living in a 2-bedroom with 3 roommates. I can't say I feel sorry for him. As for Bianca, she sent a letter once. Just a short, handwritten note. "Don't let them take your fire again. It still belongs to you." I keep it tucked in my wallet. Life isn't what I imagined. It's lonelier, quieter, but it's honest now. Sometimes, that's the only revenge left to take. You rebuild, you rise, and you remember exactly who lit the match that burned it all down.